As the year began, I wondered how many of the games I was excited for would even make it out this year. Would any of them even make me happy that I bought this PS5? Would there be any worthwhile games this year? And the answer to all these questions is, I mean, kinda. Like, don't get me wrong. Lots of cool games came out this year. Several defining experiences exploded onto the next-gen scene and made me grateful to have a PS5. But if I'm being honest, this year lacked the oomph it could have had. The pandemic made game development much more difficult, which means many big titles got delayed into the next year or so. Some big announcements happened this year, and that kind of made this year feel like, I don't know, the in-betweener year. That doesn't mean there weren't some real gems out there. That's what we're here to talk about, actually. A lot of games came out this year, a lot of cool stuff happened, a lot of great experiences. But what was your favorite?
I don't know. Of the new games that came out this year, I'd probably say Far Cry 6. That's probably my favorite new game that came out this past year. I hadn't really played a lot of the other Far Cry games, but I thought it was probably my top game of the year.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing co-op and exploding things and petting crocodiles and just generally messing around. There's a dog in a wheelchair, which is an important factor when talking about game of the year.
I'd say so.
Which other games had dogs with wheelchairs? Can you name one? I can't.
And there's also another dog that's not in a wheelchair.
That's true.
And then there's also a panther that you can get.
Yeah, it's important.
As your pet. So these are all important things in gameplay for sure.
These are important factors that go into our choices here.
Absolutely.
I think I had a lot of cool experiences this year when it came to games. There were a lot of like fun games that filled time but weren't like revolutionary. But I think the one time this year that I was surprised by the quality, the fun, and the writing on a game was the Guardians of the Galaxy game. It just blew me away with how well done it was. Especially since the bar was set so low by the Avengers game not being super great. And being multiplayer only and not story focused really didn't help that. And so I think that Guardians really nailed all the aspects that I had wanted from the Avengers game in a team dynamic. And because my expectations were so low and the marketing was complete garbage, that it just blew me away. And that I had more fun playing that than I think I did any other game, and it was by far my favorite experience of the year.
And I mean, that was kind of the sleeper hit for most people.
Yeah.
Most people weren't expecting that to be a good game at all. I know it made a lot of the lists of like the different magazines, like top games of the year.
Right, yeah.
But like you said, it just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it just looked all right. It looked like you knew what it was going to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it turned out.
It felt like it would be mediocre, and then it turned out to be amazing.
Yeah.
And again, that's a lot to do with the marketing for that game being just absolute garbage. Shame on you for not marketing that game better. Do better with the sequel that you should also fund and do.
I think the game that I had the most fun with this year, that I was just really impressed with the creativity on display, and I thought it told a good story, and I love the aesthetic of it as well. It Takes Two. I played that with a longtime friend of mine, and although I think, and what I like about it too is that because it is forced co-op, as the name implies, you just have this very personalized experience with it. It's you, this other person, and it's kind of whatever you make it to be, and everyone's going to have their own different in-jokes about it. Everyone's going to respond differently to certain scenarios.
Right.
I loved the level design. I loved how creative it was. There's all these, gameplay mechanics that you're introduced, and then you have them for an hour, and there's so many different ways they interact with the world too. And so, you have there's the squirrel level where you have kind of a bazooka and a sap gun, and you're running through a tree in a squirrel nest trying to take down hornets.
I mean, you could have pitched the game to me on just that concept alone, and I'm in.
Yeah, and everything is so quirky and fun in that way, but it's also kind of balanced against a dark story. And then not dark, but you know, there's certainly, you know, it's about like relationship problems and kind of putting certain things to the side and meeting in the middle and all those things,
Right.
which is, you know, and the way that comes together is very nice too. And so I think with all that, and I mean, it's just so much fun. There's so much to like about it. It's very charming. And so I think it takes two.
Yeah.
It takes it for me.
All right. Well, so we're in complete disagreement here of what the best game was. But that's mostly just because we all played different things this year, I think.
I think that's a great thing about it too, though, with this year kind of a lot of things getting pushed back, a lot of the bigger names getting pushed back into 2022.
Got to highlight a lot of the smaller, more unique experiences.
Right. It brings all those kind of up to the surface and gives those a real chance to shine, whereas if a lot of those bigger things had come out, maybe they wouldn't have gotten as much prestige or as much buzz.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah. And that's kind of where I think that for this year in particular, and I talk about this, a little bit later, but it's some of the reason that I was not disappointed, but just kind of like meh about a lot of the stuff that happened this year is because it was the proximity of the launch of the new consoles to a lot of the launches, and then the fact that, you know, a lot of the big announcements that got made this year are for next year and the year beyond. Well, not this year. I'm already lost on the numbers.
Time is difficult, especially the last 2 years.
It's a man-made construct. Actually, let's talk. I'm just kidding. But, you know, is
time even real?
It's certainly not. And it would be really cool if it would stop moving at such a fast pace so that the 2020 timeline can get kind of like unmuddled in my brain.
Yeah, history ended 100 years ago anyways. So.
That's true. That's accurate. Facts, as you know. But it certainly made the impacts of things that happened this year game-wise kind of hit less for me. But I think that's why some of the stuff that I enjoyed ended up hitting bigger than I thought it would, because I wasn't expecting to be impressed, I guess, this year with hardly anything, because it felt like everything was getting pushed back and there was nothing fun that was going to be coming out. And so,
well, like Christian was saying, I mean, because there weren't so many big studios releasing a lot of like new games, you got a chance for games like Death's Door to actually make an impact this year.
Oh yeah,
where small games like that wouldn't have even been on the map. Now, with these indie studios actually having some airtime to be able to like actually make an impact on the gaming scene and people to actually notice them. It's just there wasn't a lot of stuff out there, but the stuff that was out there was really interesting this year.
Yeah, and that's kind of what makes gaming great, is that there's so many wide variety of experiences that even on a year when it feels like, you know, nothing happened gaming wise, that there are still experiences that speak to you and that are coming from teams that are super small but have a lot of powerful ideas behind them. And I think that's super awesome. Okay, but like, what actually even came out this year? Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart came out. That made for a fun third-person platformer and solid use of about 20-ish of my hours. Pretty fun story overall, beautiful art direction. Oh, and there was that move that lets you go whoosh! And some of the most inventive weaponry out there. And ooh, it did this thing. It did this awesome thing where the game took advantage of the lightning fast SSD in the PS5 to load new areas instantly, thus removing the load times altogether. That was pretty crazy. Let's see, what else came out? Battlefield 2042 hit toward the end of the year and instantly absorbed most of my time. Despite its iffy launch and its lackluster number of maps, I'm still having a lot of fun making chaos on the battlefield with my friends. But, hey DICE, can you please bring back my stat tracking? I need to know how close to the bottom I am in player ability. It can't be like the very bottom. I'm okay, I guess, but like I just want to make sure I'm not last place here. Hot Wheels Unleashed came out this year and revolutionized the art of bringing die-cast toy cars to life to, let me check my notes. Drive like real cars, which is pretty cool. I revisited dozens of game worlds as they were remastered or re-released with next-gen enhancements. There were so many of these games this year, like Diablo 2, Control, Ghost of Tsushima, and it does turn out that my PS5 can in fact run Crysis. Where did I even spend my time this year, really? It was back in the realm of fighting. Between schooling my boy Christian in Tekken 7 with some good old-fashioned Eddie Gordo helicopter kicks to the face, and then taking to the far faster pacing of Dragon Ball FighterZ to pull off some insane combos, fighting games are where I found a good chunk of my fun this year. There's just so much variety. Interesting matchups between characters to be played out. Not to mention the rivalries that you form with your friends over a controller-breaking match where he won't stop spamming that move. Stop, dude. Look at this. I can go up here, I can do this, I can hit him with the big one like, yeah! I can swap in, I can smack him with this bad boy right here, and deliver a satisfying ending to a 200-plus chapter manga by letting Yamcha become the new god. Then you got this big screaming man in a designer fur waistcoat who can just stomp this angry vegetable into the ground and blow him up with a big glowing bowling ball. I mean, you can't tell me that that's not fun to watch, let alone that you wouldn't immediately do that to your closest friend. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is everything I love and hate about that series rolled into one jam-packed game. If you told me 10 years ago that a game featuring Sonic, Mario, Steve from Minecraft, Sephiroth, and a very solid Snake in a tightly controlled SmackDown fighting game would even exist, I'd have called you a liar. Because mostly, I've played Smash Bros. Before. The Singularity event is just on the horizon, so it was only a matter of time before Pikachu would learn to beat the snot out of Banjo and Kazooie. Equal parts party game and hardcore pain simulator. Smash offers some of the most fun moment-to-moment gameplay. Insane comebacks, glorious 4 stocks, and some real serious nonsense with what is happening with this garbage. What are you doing, dude? Stop freezing me! Halo Infinite's multiplayer is like taking all the best parts of Halo and putting it into a soup with all the best parts and better ideas from other FPS games. A vastly varied set of maps full of unique showdowns where you can make a man rage quit by grappling him out of his favorite metal birdie and throwing him into a gorge. See, stick with me here. What's great about this is that the grapple shot is the single best thing Halo has ever done, at least in a long time. And combining it with Halo gunplay and exploding canisters and gravity hammers is like crafting a finely put together artisan meal and flavoring it to perfection. Just a little bit of everything here. Golf is slow, methodical, purposeful in its shots, you know, like your wine snob uncle who takes his time getting drunk on the good stuff. But like, what if it wasn't? You know? What if instead you let a big ape in a tie smack that ball as hard as possible and nail a hole-in-one from 400 meters away while putting an end to a portly Italian man's dreams of taking down Roy McIlroy? That's Mario Golf, baby. Mario Golf is not a new concept. Mario sports games aren't a new concept, but it is one that wholly delivers on the fun of golf and the whimsy that comes from the Mushroom Kingdom. Each character comes with a bevy of stats and clubs that you can use to do some absolute nonsense, like bending the direction of a ball that's been traveling for nearly 100 meters already. The roster feels like a fun gathering of the storied franchise's history, and the unique special moves add a level of strategy to the game that I think the PGA should really be considering as an inclusion for themselves. The chaos of this world is what makes it addicting. There's tons of trick shots to be had, uncharted paths to discover in an attempt to make the coolest looking shot of all time. Or, you know, like me, just end up in the lava every time. What you gotta understand about this game is that this character right here, he decided to play football halfway through the course and yeets the ball by hand to the other end of the course. Needless to say, this is a very good game, and a perfect party game for the pandemic era. It kept me and my friends laughing throughout our hard times. Hades is a game, specifically one I missed last year, because roguelites aren't typically my thing. They're not something I get heavily into, and I ended up sleeping on this one. But, oh man! You got quality writing, mixed with this grab bag of insanely versatile skills, making you feel like an unstoppable force of nature 1 second, and then quickly reminding you that your place is back at the beginning of the game. Because when you die, you start over. But unlike in other games, every death doesn't just set you back to the beginning of the game, it still progresses the story forward. So you're not really losing progress here, you're just getting another chance at the boss run. It's fast-paced, gorgeous from start to finish, and I honestly had a blast with it. Wonder why no one played this game. 2021 was a weird year. With a scattered amount of content and an even more scattered release schedule, gaming still made every part of the year better. And I think that's going to continue into 2022, because things are really starting to look up. I really think we're going to get a lot more... No, come on! Well, for all the latest on games and the inevitable delays on the horizon, subscribe to Hardwired and tune in to KWTX Xtra. Thanks for watching.